Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our next plenary session. But before we start with the plenary session, we mourn the loss of Professor Dr. Peter Flaschel. And I couldn't think of any better person to give a Memoriam speech to Peter. And this will be given by Professor Christian Peranio of the University of Bamberg. Christian, the floor is yours.
Hello everybody. First of all, I would like to thank Sebastian, I would like to thank Eckhard, I would like to thank all the fellows of the FMM Society for giving me the opportunity to give these last words or these memorial words in honor of my PhD advisor, mentor, and friend, Peter Flaschel. So, very briefly, because I see some new faces, which is actually a good thing, of course, in any conference, but I would like to give you a brief overview of his work. He was born 1943 in Zittau in Saxony. He was actually from his upbringing, from his academic upbringing. He was a mathematician. He studied mathematics at Bonn University. He also hit his doctorate in mathematics, and he was the winner of the very renowned Felix Hausdorff Memorial Prize in 1969. And then, so in that time, he actually met the love of his wife, the love of his life, Sigrid Luchtenberg, who used to also come with Peter to this conference. And actually, if you remember, they were always together holding hands and walking across these corridors. And Peter told me that in one trip that they did, I think in Morocco or something like that, he had this red book that he read throughout the journey, and it was the Das Kapital by Marx. And basically, that was the moment, this kind of tipping point, where he decided that he actually would not work on mathematics, on pure mathematics anymore, but actually would like to work on economics. And so he changed. He moved from Bonn to the Free University of Berlin, where he did his habilitation in economics in 1980. And in the same year, he became a professor of economics at the Free University of Berlin. 5 years later, he moved to Bielefeld University, which became his academic home for the rest of his academic career. And he had many guest professorships, and he visited many universities around the world, but I think one of the most remarkable achievements, or let's say positions, was his position as a Theodor Heuss professor at the New School for Social Research in 2006. Now, throughout this time, Peter managed to create a network of collaborators around the world. I don't know if you recognize this. This is the word. This is. I chose this word map because such a map was in Peter's office at Bielefeld University, and this map he bought in his first visit that he did to Karl Chiarella in Sydney around 1982 or something like that. In any case, throughout the years. As I previously said, there were many collaborators around the world who engaged into this kind of research agenda that Peter Flaschel, together with Karl Chiarella and Willy Semmler and Rainer Franke, pursued. And here, I just, well, first of all, I realize now that it is not easy to locate New York in this upside-down word map, because actually it should be there, but I put it in near Portland. So there's no collaborator of Peter Flaschel in Portland. Actually, this was to be New York. And of course, there's Willy Semmler, but I also located Colorado, Fort Collins, where Daniele Tavani also became part of this group. Ricardo Araujo is working in Brazil. I located myself in Ecuador too, but of course, as you know, I am based in Germany. And I don't have to go through all the places, but basically this was kind of an active network of researchers. And in some circles, the work that was done by this group of researchers was became to be known as the Bielefeld School, right? I'm not sure if this is a school, but definitely I would say that this is something like the Bielefeld disequilibrium approach to macroeconomic modeling. So for the people who may not have heard about this, basically, Peter always said that, yeah, we have something like a macro-founded approach, so there is no explicit utility maximization of something like a representative agent, right? He was very concerned about, of course, about issues like income distribution and basically about the dynamics of capitalism. And of course, he recognized that a representative agent framework was not the proper framework to be used for those questions. He usually specified behavioral functions of different sectors of the economy. And one particular feature was that a disequilibrium situation in real markets was considered something like the standard situation, right? And wage and price inflation dynamics were driven by disequilibrium situations in goods and labor markets, and they were basically the main mechanisms through which dynamics would emerge. Implicitly, this is something that you can find in many places in his work, but he actually did not focus explicitly on this issue. This was something that became more my research agenda. But you can definitely say that there was an implicit bounded rationality which was assumed by rational agents. And one thing that I would say was the defining feature of this approach was that you had a systematic exploration of nonlinear variations of standard models, and also the expansion of heterodox models where you could see, very clear, heterodox features, featuring, of course, Kalecki, Kaldor, Goodwin, and Steindl, and many other great thinkers. And doing this, however, in a highly mathematical way, and exploring the interactions and feedback mechanisms in highly dimensional dynamical systems. And also, and there was actually something like a philosophy behind this, the preferred representation was a continuous time representation of the dynamics. And I mean, if we have some papers where we explain this. Now, if you're willing to learn more about this, and this is a very, very subjective perception of what his most representative work is about, I would recommend to start with the 1997 book at MIT Press, then go to the Cambridge University Press, the 2000, The Dynamics of Keynesian Monetary Growth, where he tried to deliver a coherent theory of short, medium, and long-run dynamics and growth. Also, I think this is something like the culmination of his approach in 2005, Foundations of a Disequilibrium Theory of the Business Cycle, and also this book, the 2009, where he focuses on something like the elements, the development of elements of a synthesis for Marx, or of Marx, Keynes, and Schumpeter. But these are only the key contributions. He had many others, and I should mention that he published very well both in heterodox as well as in more mainstream journals, being the Econometrica publication that he had in '83, the most remarkable one. And until maybe the last weeks of his life, he was very active in terms of developing new models, in terms of really thinking deeply about the intrinsic dynamics of capitalism in a more broader way. For example, through this book, Roads to Social Capitalism, at the very end, you see this book, Unbalanced Growth from a Balanced Perspective, which actually appeared this year. And and Daniele Tavani also presented a paper on the pandemics with Peter Flaschel also as a co-author. So I think that we have lost a great mind, but something that really touches me is that people always highlight his great human nature, and actually, given his great intellectual capacity, I would say he was the most humble person that I've known. So yeah, thank you very much.